Welcome to Everything Explained. I'm your host, and today we're unpacking a big idea in a small, practical way: how cities reflect the values of the people who live in them. When you stroll a neighborhood or ride a bus, you're not just moving through space, you're reading a public diary. The sidewalks, parks, transit lines, and even the zoning laws tell us what a community believes is important: safety, opportunity, belonging, beauty, resilience, and time. A city can't pretend to be neutral. It's built to balance many needs. And in that balancing act, you can glimpse a society's priorities. First, let's talk about safety and belonging. The way a city designs streets says a lot about who it invites to linger, work, or play after dark. Wide, well-lit sidewalks, clear crosswalks, and visible pedestrian-friendly streets send a message. People matter, not just cars. Some places go further with bike lanes and generous public seating to encourage casual encounters that knit a community together. Think of Copenhagen and Amsterdam, where bike culture isn't a side project but a backbone of daily life. In other places, street plazas, sheltered nooks, and good lighting create spaces where neighbors can check in on one another. In contrast, when streets feel empty or unsafe, it signals a fear of crime or exclusion, which pushes people to stay indoors or in private spaces. A city's approach to safety is, in effect, a public promise about who belongs and who can belong. Second, housing and how a city shapes living space reveal another set of values: dignity, opportunity, and shared responsibility. Vienna is often cited for its robust social housing system, which keeps rents stable and neighborhoods cohesive. Singapore's public housing program blends affordability with high design standards and disciplined neighborhoods, showing a belief that good housing is a public good, not a private commodity. In many fast-growing cities, zoning decisions, where and how dense you can build, tell a story about who should be able to live near work, schools, and shops. When a city prioritizes mixed-use districts and affordable housing alongside luxury towers, it's signaling a commitment to opportunity for a broad range of residents, not just the well-off. Third, the stories a city tells through monuments, museums, and memory say what it values about the past and who it wants to be in the future. Berlin's Memorial to the Murdered Jews of Europe invites quiet reflection about a painful history. Cities also debate which figures deserve public space and how to tell complex histories honestly. In many places, street art, murals, and publicly funded cultural districts celebrate local identity, immigrant stories, and everyday heroes. The choices aren't neutral. They're deliberate narratives about national memory, civic ideals, and the kind of future residents want to pass down. Mobility and access are next. A city that puts buses, trains, and safe cycling ahead of free parking is making a bet on efficiency, equity, and the environment. Curitiba in Brazil revolutionized urban transport with a bus rapid transit system that is still studied worldwide as a practical, low-cost way to move large numbers of people. Tokyo and Seoul show how high-quality transit can shrink commute times and keep city life affordable by reducing dependence on private cars. Then there are places that remain car-centric, where wide roads and parking dominate space. The choice reflects a value. Should city life be experienced primarily in the driver's seat, or on foot and by rail? Green space and resilience come next. Parks aren't just nice to have. They're demonstrations of how a city treats air, heat, flood risk, and mental health. Singapore's Garden City ethos blends nature with urban life in a way that helps manage monsoon storms and heat. Portland, Vancouver, and others use green corridors and bike networks to weave ecological thinking into daily routines. Rotterdam faces rising water and rising temperatures with practical, even playful solutions, like water plazas and smart drainage. When a city makes room for trees, parks, and rivers, it's underwriting a value: long-term care for people and the planet. Money and everyday life also show up in how cities enable work and commerce. Street markets, small shops, and accessible public spaces support a diverse economy and give a sense of dignity to everyday labor. The contrast between a city that champions thriving street life and one that buffers commerce behind gated spaces speaks volumes about priorities: openness versus enclosure, spontaneity versus control. In some places, modern districts like Barcelona's 22 at or certain development zones reimagine work and living together, signaling a belief that innovation comes from mixing uses, not segregating them. Finally, many cities are experimenting with how residents shape their own neighborhoods. Participatory budgeting, neighborhood councils, and community-led redesigns put ordinary people in the driver's seat. Porto Alegre's early experiments with citizen-controlled budgets inspired similar efforts around the world, proving that when people have a say, streets and parks better reflect lived needs. Paris's resident committees and participatory planning in some districts show that governance can be more than just elite planning. It can be a conversation with the community about what really matters. So, what can we take away? Cities aren't perfect mirrors of every virtue, but they are honest records of a community's choices. If you pay attention to where people walk, where they gather, what gets protected, and what gets demolished for new towers, you're seeing a map of shared values, safety, opportunity, fairness, beauty, resilience, and hope. You can use that lens to look at your own city with fresh eyes. Notice who is invited to the public space, how housing is planned, what stories are honored, and where change is being asked for. Cities are living negotiations, and you are part of the conversation. If we want to steer them toward better futures, we start by asking simpler questions. Who is this place for? Whose voice is missing? How can design help more people feel at home here? Thank you for listening. Until next time, keep watching the streets. You'll hear the shape of a society in the spaces we share.